Heyo bhadeya rahitam arudam padamikshate sadadaivatmana atmanam nisangam samadarshinam Heyo padaya rahitam arudam padamikshate sadaiva atmanam Heyo padaya rahitam arudam padamikshate sadadaivatmana atmanam isanam samadarshanam arudam padamikshate sadadaivatma atmanam nisangam samadarshanam heyo bhadeya rahitam arudam padamikshate Sa, the pure devotee, tada, then, eva, certainly, atmanam, by his transcendental intelligence, atmanam, himself, nisangam, without material attachment, samadarshanam, equiposed in vision, heya, to be, rejected, upadeya, acceptable, rahitam, devoid of, arudam, elevated, padam, through the transcendental position, ikshate, he sees. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Because of his transcendental intelligence, the pure devotee is equiposed in his vision and sees himself to be uncontaminated by matter. He does not see anything as superior or inferior, and he feels himself elevated to the transcendental platform of being equal in qualities with the Supreme Person. Please repeat after me. Because of his transcendental intelligence, the pure devotee is equiposed in his vision and sees himself to be uncontaminated by matter. He does not see anything as superior or inferior, and he feels himself elevated to the transcendental platform of being equal in qualities with the Supreme Person. Purport. Perception of the disagreeable arises from attachment. A devotee has no personal attachment to anything. Therefore, for him, there is no question of arguable or agreeable or disagreeable. For the service of the Lord, he can accept anything, even though it may be disagreeable to his personal interest. In fact, he is completely free from personal interest, and thus anything agreeable to the Lord is agreeable to him. For example, for Arjuna, at first, fighting was not agreeable. But when he understood the fighting was agreeable to the Lord, he accepted the fighting as agreeable. This is the position of a pure devotee. For his personal interest, there is nothing which is agreeable or disagreeable. Everything is done for the Lord, and therefore he is free from attachment and detachment. This is the transcendental stage of neutrality. A pure devotee enjoys life in the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swabhadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sakrajadam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Dalita Shri Vishakanvitam Sya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Parshyatya Desha Tarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratise Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. Offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Mukam karoti vatsalam pango langai tegiri. Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Shri Tinatarinam Thavasmi Najivami Thavinam Iti Vigya Devitvam Nayamam Charanantikam. Hare Krishna. Good morning and welcome to this morning's Bhagavatam class, chapter Entanglement in Fruitive Activities. Kapiladeva has been instructing his mother for a few chapters now. And the current chapter he's instructing is entanglement in fruitive activities. So initially, beginning of this chapter, we saw how the fruitive activities work, how living entities who are interested in fruitive activities are not interested in Krishna consciousness. They are busy, and Krishna also rejects them. And then in text 11 and text 22, Kapiladeva says, therefore, hearing all this, this is what you need to mother. This is what you need to do, mother Devahuti. So he puts a stop and iterates what one should do. Before that, he was explaining what one shouldn't do. Now he's telling his mother what one should do, and especially one should do what pure devotees does. In following the footsteps of the pure devotees. That's what he's explaining to his mother. And the behavior, the activities, the mood of pure devotees are explained here. So here what is he saying? He's talking about being Sama, equiposed in vision. Equiposed in vision. There's two ways of looking at it. I will just focus on one to start with, and then time permits we can discuss the other version. Equiposed or Sama, if you look at the word Sama, Krishna repeats it again and again and again in Bhagavad Gita. Even in the very second chapter, the number of times he instructs Arjuna to be equiposed is numerous. He starts with the verse Madra Sparshastra Kaunteya Sitoshna Sukatogada Agama Paina Nitya Stam Titikshva Vibharata. One should morning Michael. Madra Sparshastra Kaunteya. Don't be affected by the interaction of the senses and the sense objects and be equiposed. Like tolerating the seasons of winter and summer, hot and cold. Don't get bewildered. Be equiposed. The next verse, he again goes, Yam ye vivayanti purusha purusha shabha sama dukkha sukham dhiram so amritatvaya kalpate. And he says again the importance of being sama. Oh, best, the bull among men, or Rishabha, bull among men, or best of men, don't get agitated by dukkha and sukha, and be sama. Sama dukkam sukha, dukkam sukham kritva. So he says again, be equiposed. And this phenomenon is repeated again, just within the second chapter. And then and he defines even yoga to be being equiposed. Yoga sta kuru karmani sangatyakta dhananjaya siddhaya asiddhaya samakritva. Again, samakritva. Tata yogam avapsyasi. He says yoga means just being equiposed, without being bewildered by siddha asiddha, by profit and loss, by gain and loss. Be equiposed. He doesn't stop. Again he goes. In the Prajapati verses, what is it? The Sthita Pragya descriptions, he again goes in Dukkesha Anudvignamanaha Sukkesha Vigadaspuraha Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Sthita Dhira Muni Taduchyate. If you want to be a Sthita Dhira Muni, if you want to be a person who is fixed, it means when there is sadness, when there is dukkha, or when there is sukha, don't get bewildered. Be equiposed. So he repeatedly mentions, and this is just second chapter. He keeps bringing this again and again throughout the entire Bhagavad Gita. And he keeps telling Arjuna, through Arjuna to us, just be equiposed. Do not get disturbed. Be equiposed. Why? Why does he repeat this concept again and again? And again, to the extent, even in his previous appearances, Kapila Devi is still bringing up the same thing. Samadarshanaha, be equiposed. Have an equal vision. Let's explore a bit. The reason is the world, the living entities are put in this material world so that they can perform devotion service and perfect their life, get out of this material world. That is the reason we get this human form of life. Human form of life is a privilege that a living entity gets so that he can utilize this human body as a vehicle and get out of this material world. That is the reason one gets a human form of life. If you want to enjoy your senses, you have the other forms of life, which is very conducive for enjoyment. Very conducive. For example, if you want to eat a lot of food, like Ramai Swami explained in last Sunday's class. Anybody was there last Sunday's class? Yeah. Ramai Swami spoke about this. If you want to eat a lot of food, better take that as a pig, because you have a constitution where you can eat a lot of food and there's, you can digest it and you can move on. Like yesterday, Chitta Hari Prabhu had a big feast and he couldn't move. That's the human form of body. You eat too much and you have to lie down. You can't do anything. Considering the food is giving you energy, but no. But if you eat a lot, you have to lie down. The body actually collapses. Same thing with other sense enjoyment. If you want to have repeated sex, take that as a pigeon. You're going to have sex 6, 7, 8, 10 times a day. Or a rabbit, can reproduce every 15 days. Have new babies every 15 days. But humans cannot reproduce that fast or sexual indulgence that often, even though we desire to, but we can't. So the human form is not meant for that. It has those phenomena a little bit here and there, but it is not meant for that. It is meant to perform austerities and to get out. And what activities, it doesn't matter any path you take, the yoga path or the jnana path or the bhakti path, one has to perform the sadhana. If you want to realize God through yoga process, one has to do yoga sadhana. Practice the niyamas and yamas and niyamas, perform the asanas, regulate, practice day in and day out, practice, regulated practice. Same thing if you want to perform jnana yoga, you sit and meditate, perfect the meditation till you achieve samadhi. So there's regulation is required, any path you take. And same thing with bhakti yoga, regulation. Sadhana bhakti means regulation. You chant fixed number of rounds. You get up in the morning at a certain time. You go attend Mangala Arati. You read. You eat regulated food, prasadam. So it's regulation after regulation after regulation. So what will help us to achieve the goal of this human form is regulation. Through regulation, your sadhana, your process becomes perfected. But if a person is not sama, it disturbs the regulation. Especially, we live in a world which is dukhalayam ashashvatam, very unstable. Is it unstable or unstable? Unstable. It's very, you never know what will happen. It's compared to the water droplet on a lotus leaf. If you see water droplet on a lotus leaf, it looks very beautiful, but it's very temporary. As soon as there's a little bit of agitation in the water flows out. It can't stay in the lotus leaf. Similarly, the life we lead already in this material world is full of agitation. It's constantly disturbed. You're just attending a party, a rave party in south of Israel, and suddenly there's bombs falling on your head. Nobody asked for it, Suddenly it happens. Nobody expected it. I'm just enjoying myself, half naked, party, and suddenly, the bombs fall on your head. Siddha Hari Prabhu, singing in Ukraine nicely, and suddenly Putin thinks he wants Ukraine. And then you have bombs, you're laughing, but people on the ground might have a different feeling. Suddenly bombs start falling in your head. You didn't ask for it. Ashashvatam, the peace it's very kamala tala jala. It's like the water on the lotus leaf. You never know when it can be disturbed. You're just going by your life and the neighbor has a problem. The children has a problem. The wife has a problem. And suddenly, your whole life, your mood is disturbed. The bad scream. So you have all these disturbances in this material world. That's the nature of this material world. But one is required to lead a regulated life. One is required, as we discussed before. So in a platform which is constantly shaking, one is supposed to be regulated, But if he doesn't have this concept of sama, equiposed, his regulation will be constantly disturbed. Does that make sense? Unless he embodies this concept of sama, just fixed, being equiposed, then immediately the regulation goes out of the door. For example, Ukraine, if the devotees, there's suddenly bombs falling on your head, the temple is destroyed, devotees has to go and run and hide. If they are not sama, if they are not equiposed, then their mind will say, why am I doing my regulative principles? Krishna is so horrible, he is, disturbing my, what did I do wrong? The $1,000,000 questions all the devotees ask when things doesn't go their way. What did I do wrong? Why is Krishna doing this to me? We always have this victim mentality, we always ask that, Krishna, why did you do this to me? We ask that question. Anyway, we're getting into that. But by having that sama drishti, that equiposed vision, one can one can regulate himself in spite of the ashashvatam aspect of this material, living in this material world. People, devotees still, in war-prone area, they still chant their rounds. They still have their Bhagavatam classes. I heard yesterday Sita Prabhu was mentioning that he gives Bhagavatam classes to devotees in Ukraine. They still listen to Bhagavatam class. So they're still regulated. Still, like for example, in my early days, very, very early days, I was traveling with a Prabhupada disciple in a train with his family. He had 3 children, wife, husband, and I was the 10th wheel. I was traveling with them. And I was quite surprised. This is me very early days. I was very surprised. He got up in the morning and he took his kartals and he started playing Samsara praise. Samsara, first thing in the morning. I was like, wow. I was quite surprised because in an India train, it takes 24 or 48 hours to go from one destination to another destination. You're on the train, cramped up with people, but still regulation, still chanting the praise. I was quite impressed. His activities. He's actually Australian devotee. He lives somewhere up north now. I lost contact. So that regulation is important, even in precarious situations. And this vision of being equiposed, sama, helps one to navigate through and still be fixed so that they can progress through their devotional service. Otherwise, we will get into victim mentality, get depressed, and as I mentioned, go into this phase that why Krishna is doing it, and you give up your regulation. Once you give up your regulation, your devotional service eventually dwindles and dies. Before you know, you don't want to get up from the bed, and you're hungry. You're just ordering pizza, and the devotional service is finished, at least temporarily. Then you have to restart all over again and regulate all over again. Now we don't want that, so we just be equiposed in good or bad situation, in profit or loss, and then maintain our sadhana, practice our chanting and whatever the practices we have, and progress in devotional service. So that's one way of looking at samadarshinaha. The same word samadarshinaha is again is mentioned by Krishna in 6th chapter, Pandita samadarshinaha, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmana Gavihasini, Sunichava Sunai, Supakecha, Pandita samadarshinaha. There, intelligent person It's referred Pandita. Pandita means a person who's learned. Who's a learned person? A learned person is not somebody who has a PhD in geology. What PhD are you doing? What are you doing? You're doing a PhD, am I right? No, you're not. Somebody told me you're doing a PhD. I'm sure you're a Pandita, I'm not getting at that point. So just doing a PhD in some mundane object doesn't make you a Pandita. A Pandita, according to Krishna, in that context, is somebody who knows the living entity, the spirit soul, the material body, that the spirit soul is covered by different material bodies according to his various karmas, but in spite of that, the spirit soul is a devotee in actuality. And the Pandita also knows the Supreme Lord, the relation between the Lord and the living entity. So he knows all those things. And on top of it, there's an important word he is used, is Vinaya. He's also humble. Not just because he has all this tremendous knowledge and he's puffed up like Prahlad, but he is also Vinaya. He's also very humble. In that state, he has a vision of equality. And that vision is very important, especially in the context of bhakti. And that vision is the vision which saves the conditioned living entities. So let's have a bookmark there. Krishna, on the other hand, he also practices sama. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshastina paraha. What is that? Bhajante te bhaktya. I forgot the last line. So Krishna also practices that sama. But that sama, Krishna practicing sama is not very helpful to us. What he says is, if I'm merciful, equally merciful to all living entities, Krishna says, I don't envy anyone, I'm not against anyone, I don't go out of my way and poke somebody, I'm not against anyone. But if somebody is in devotion with me, I'm also friendly in disposition towards him. So what he is saying is, I'm friends with my devotee. In simple terms, I look after my devotee. My name is Bhakta Vatsala. I'm very kind to my devotee. Extremely kind to my devotee. If somebody is my devotee and I go out of my way and make sure he's looked after in a Shreyas level, not on a temporary level, in a permanent level. Make sure he's cared for, he's looked after, he's nourished. Bhakta Vatsala. The word Bhakta Vatsala means, Vatsa means calf. So the Lord is like a cow to its calf. The cow is very affectionate to its calf. The example is given because sometimes when the calf is drinking milk, it hits the cow. Have you seen that? It actually, with the forehead, it hits the cow, and the cow doesn't take offense. It gives more milk. So the Lord is extremely merciful to his devotees, like a cow is merciful to his calf. And any imperfections he sees in his devotees, he thinks it as a jewel. What is the word? He thinks it as a ornament. That's the word. If a devotee has a problem, he can't keep his senses together, or he's have some defects. But the Lord doesn't see it as a defect. He sees it as a what's the word I use? Ornament. Thank you. He sees it as an ornament. That's how he deals with his devotees. That's why one should be very careful when you see some bad qualities in devotees and when you want to correct it. Because the Lord sees it as an ornament. Who am I to, criticize the devotee? Now, if you're helping them, that's a different story. But if you're criticizing, even the Lord doesn't criticize. He sees the devotee as an ornament, any defect in a devotee. That's why you have all these verses where if a devotee falls down, but I don't immediately. What is that verse? So I immediately reinstate him because he's my devotee. Okay. But, Sama, but with non-devotees, he's also merciful. But that mercy is extreme. The same principle of Sama when Krishna uses towards his non-devotee is extreme. When you listen to Prabhupada, he says often, again going back to the same example I gave, if somebody like to eat a lot and obsessed with eating, Krishna is very merciful and he gives him a body of a pig. So his mercy, his Sama is completely different to his non-devotees, towards non-devotees. It's completely different. And he actually runs a preparatory school near Patala Loka where he prepares them to whatever body they want. He doesn't throw them. He's very kind that he doesn't throw them in the deep end. He runs a preparatory school and he trains them up to a particular body called, the preparatory school is called Hell, where he trains them up so that when they get the body, they are comfortable. Krishna is very merciful for non-devotees. So this Sama aspect of Krishna is not so good for non-devotees like me. For people who doesn't have proper faith, who doesn't, who are not his devotees, who are not part of the club. It's a very precarious situation. Ashradayana Purusha, what is it? Ashradayana Purusha, Dhammasya Asya, Parantava, Aprapyamam, Nivardante, and Mrityu Samsara, Vardhane. He says, no problem at all, I'm very merciful to you. You don't want me? I'm not available for you. Just go, enjoy yourself in this material world. Mrityu Samsara, Vardhane. So this is the Lord being Sama, equiposed. Okay? So why am I speaking this? So here, the vision, equiposed vision explained is the equiposed vision of devotees. So their vision is different to the vision of the Lord. How? The devotees, they understand the predicament the non-devotees are, and they're kind, but different kind to the kindness of the Lord. They are kind to see the difficulty of the living entities, and some or other they devise mechanisms for them to become devotees. So that is the samakritva of a devotee. He understands, he looks at every living entity and he sees the super soul, and he sees that this super soul is the servant of the Lord. And because of some misconception, he is in this material world suffering. So this is the samadarshana of a devotee. Even the Lord doesn't have the samadarshana. Only the devotee has the samadarshana. So when Prabhupada landed, where did Prabhupada land first time in the US? Boston. Yeah, he landed in Boston first time. In the world of non-devotees. So his prayer, when he lands in Boston Pier, his prayer is from Bhagavatam, 10th canto, prayers of the Vedas personified, where he prays. He doesn't pray, I came, I'm your servant, I came here, so protect me, I'm in this unknown land, protect me, or make my mission successful. My spiritual master told me to start a mission, make my mission successful. He's not praying, help me open a lot of temples. He's not asking, give me a lot of wealth so I can preach. No, he's not asking for any of his needs. The first prayer he's remembering is the prayer of personified Vedas, where the personified Vedas pray, my dear Lord, because of your will, these living entities are caught in this material world and they are suffering life after life. So if you kindly wish, I pray to you that you kindly make these fools and rascals take up devotion service to help them become devotees. So he is praying to the Lord for the non-devotees, for us, who have no taste or interest in Krishna. So living entities, apart from the very small cohort of devotees, are not interested in Krishna. So a pure devotee, because of his samadarshina, he is praying. And because of that prayer, Krishna, because he is Bhakta Vatsala, he will do anything for his devotees. He is not doing it for us. He is doing it because the pure devotee prayed, asked for us to be liberated. And then Krishna, compromises. Instead of pushing us where we really belong, is the Mrityu Samsara Vartmani, where we actually belong. But instead, just because the pure devotee has asked, he is making an exemption. So now we can understand the samadarshinaha of a pure devotee. How important is that? The vision of a pure devotee. If the pure devotee does not have that vision, and if he is just interested in his own upliftment, what will happen to all of us? Probably I'll be drunk and dead by now, knowing me. So I guess it applies for all of us. It's the same prayer Mahaprabhu also repeats, remembers, when Vasudeva Datta approaches Mahaprabhu and prays that let me be in hell and let me take all the sinful reaction of the entire world. But Lord, please be merciful to these living entities who are naturally against serving you. He prays, Vasudeva Datta, being a pure devotee. And Mahaprabhu remembers the same verse. Giriraj Maharaj, in his memoir, he says that he was new to the temple. He's been in the temple, just joined up, just 3 months. 3 months is, it's brand new. You're not expected much, and you're nobody in 3 months. So they ran out of pujaris, and Satsuru Maharaj was desperate to have a pujari to look after the deity. So they write to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, here is, I don't know what is Giriraj Maharaj's bhakta name, is this devotee is sincere, could you just initiate him so that we can have a pujari? And those days, emergency days, first initiated were allowed to worship deities. But he was not even first initiated. So Prabhupada responds, okay, I will initiate him. His name will be in mail, not even in person. In mail he responds, I will initiate him. His name will be Giriraj, the lifter of Govardhan Hill. And I also pray to Krishna that he understands the importance of Krishna consciousness. Oh Krishna, please make him understand the importance of Krishna consciousness. So the Prabhupada is praying, even for this insignificant person, just let's go with the flow, that somebody who just showed up and been around only for 3 months. But a pure devotee even prays for him. He prays, Krishna, let this person be excused. Give him the intelligence. Give him the intelligence. So one can understand the Samadarshina of a devotee. And the history knows that Giridhar Maharaj is one of the leading members of our society, who loves eating sweets. Boy, he eats sweets like a 10-year-old child. I was having lunch with him last time, and the man was just sweets, milk sweets. So, he built the temple for Prabhupada in Jufu. So the history is because of the prayer of the devotee. Okay? If you want to explore a little bit more, how is that? Because bhakti is independent. It's even independent of Krishna. In the very first verse of Bhagavatam, Krishna is considered Swarat. He is independent. But bhakti is even independent of Krishna. And he is very careful in giving bhakti to others. In Bhagavad Gita he says, Sarvadharmam Parityajya. Once you completely surrender unto me, then I'll give you bhakti. And that's Krishna's approach. Because he knows, if I give bhakti, then I'll be controlled by this person. So he's very careful in giving it out. It's like writing a blank check. You don't go around writing blank checks to everyone. You're very careful who you write the blank checks to, or giving power of attorney to. You're very careful. You're a highly trusted person, because the person can take advantage. So Krishna is very careful. He doesn't let himself be easily controlled. So what he does is he gives this bhakti to the pure devotees. And the pure devotees are the custodians of this bhakti. And if and when they decide, they can give. And only they can give. Even the Kapila Deva explains all the other yoga processes, Sankhya Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga. He explains all these processes, but none of this process will give you bhakti. All these processes are preparatory processes. They all bring you to the platform, but you need the seed of bhakti to be given by a pure devotee, because only pure devotees have the bhakti. In 11th canto, it is said, Bhakti Sanjayate Bhakti. Bhakti comes from bhakti. It doesn't come from yoga, jnana, or being a nice person or not being a nice person. It always comes from bhakti. As Prabhupada writes, life comes from life. Similarly, bhakti comes from bhakti. So if one wants to become a bhakta, one wants to get that bhakti, that can be attained only from a devotee, especially a pure devotee, because they are the custodians of bhakti. Many examples we can see. Valmiki and Narada Muni and Mrigari the hunter. I will tell a story of a not so common example we hear in this context. How Narada Muni liberates even people who are not qualified. And of course, the biggest example is Prabhupada. This Western world completely not at all interested in anything to do with spirituality, and then he makes pure devotees out of them. That's pure devotee. Bhakti Sanjayate Bhakti. So Narada Muni, as we know, is a pure devotee of the Lord, and he is very compassionate to especially the fallen living entities. He is compassionate to everyone, and he is especially compassionate to people who are averse to bhakti. He is on a mission to even convert the most demoniac people. We just want to distribute people who want to buy the books. We don't want to distribute somebody who doesn't want to even see you or reject you. But Narada Muni is on a mission to convert the worst case scenarios. So this story is a folk story. I don't know the authenticity of it. It's usually spoken in Raj, devotees in Raj. Uh, um, I don't know if it is in any shastras, but it's very much in line with the tattva. So we all know Ambrish Maharaj, the great pure devotee of the Lord. He engaged in Navavida Bhakti. Even he defied the curse of Durvasa Muni. We all know him as one of the Bhagavatas, authorities, Bhagavatas, Ambrish Maharaj, a great devotee. I think the pastime of Ambrish Maharaj happened in Damodar month, the Ekadashi. Yeah, it happened, so he fasted whole year and broke the fasting again Damodar month next year. So it happened this month. But nobody, again, folk story, nobody knew he had a brother. And his brother was completely opposite of Ambrish Maharaj. He was not at all a devotee. He was completely against what his brother was doing. Why are you wasting your time? Fasting for 1 year, and what is all this? He was completely against. He was not at all interested in devotion service. So once, you can extrapolate how this brother was. If one is against devotion service, what kind of person he is. So once Narada Muni was on his way to meet Ambrish Maharaj, and he bumped into his brother, Ambrish Maharaj's brother. Narada Muni bumped into his Ambrish Maharaj's brother, and his brother was teasing Narada Muni. It's not like he's already spending all his time. You are here to more enhance him or make him perform more devotional activities. He was having a friendly banter. So Narada Muni says, "Okay, do me a favor." And he says, "Yeah, sure. What can I do for you?" And the brother says, Narada Muni says, "See, if you see anyone, just ask them, what is the benefit of meeting a pure devotee? Considering your brother is a pure devotee, so what is the benefit of being in association or bumping into a pure devotee?" Right? He did bump into Narada Muni. And he says, "Okay, I will do that." The brother says, "Okay, I'll do that." The brother lives his life, and then eventually he dies. The Yamadutas come, they take it to Yamaraj, and then he remembers, Narada Muni said something like this. He asked Yamaraj, "What is the benefit of bumping into a pure devotee?" And Yamaraj is all stuck. This person is supposed to be demoniac, and he's asking the completely wrong question. That's what I'm expecting from him. And he says, "Look, I can't answer that question. I'm not qualified. I can't. Go to Brahma, who is our creator. He might answer." So he goes to Brahma, and he says the same thing. And Brahma says, "Wrong person. I already got into trouble playing with devotees in Vrindavan. So, no, I can't answer this question. I don't know the answer. You better go and ask Shiva. He's quite intelligent. He's partial incarnation of the Lord. He might answer." He goes to Lord Shiva, and we all know the response. Lord Shiva also says, "Sorry, mate, I don't know the answer. You better go and ask Lord Vishnu, because he and devotees, they are in some kind of a cooked up relationship. Only they understand. You better go and ask him." So he goes and asks Vishnu. He goes to Vaikuntha and he asks Vishnu. I heard about this. When I saw Narada Muni, and he told me to ask what's the benefit of coming in association with a pure devotee. And what does Lord Vishnu say? "Oh, well, the benefit is you go back to Vaikuntha. And you have come to Vaikuntha. And all your sinful reactions have been dismissed, and you're not going to take birth again. That is the benefit. So, not so good brother of Amrish Maharaj attained liberation and went back to Godhead because of his Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha with Narada Muni. Just by some good fortune of being a brother of Amrish Maharaj, he bumps into the Lord, Narada Muni, and because of that minimal interaction, he was liberated. So, one can see the association of a pure devotee and the samadrishva of a pure devotee can even liberate the most fallen living entities, which Krishna himself could be bothered doing. So that is the other version of samadrishva and samadrishva of a pure devotee. Okay. In that note, I will finish. If there's any questions or comments, corrections, fire away. Hey. Yeah. Well, yes, they are right. They are right. Just by coming in close association with Prabhupada, they will go back to Godhead. But then you have to go to Yamaraj first. Then you have to go to Brahma. Then you have to go to Shiva. And then you have to go to Vaikuntha. That will take a long time. Let me finish. So it'll take a long time. It'll take a person a long time. Anybody come in a remote contact with Prabhupada is going to go back to Godhead. But it is just, do you want to go back to Godhead in few lifetimes or in this lifetime? So, yeah, that is the question. That's why when Kamalakanta gets cursed by Mahaprabhu, he said, you will attain me later in a few lives. No, it's not him, it's Mukunda. And he's okay. But of course, devotees, devotees' vision is not going back to Godhead. It's a story to give a bit of to emphasize the importance. Devotees' goal is to engage in devotional service to the maximum. That is the goal for a devotee. And that can be achieved easily by going back to Godhead. Your seva is in full swing when you're in the spiritual world. So devotees is not about getting liberation, playing with my spiritual activities. No, the devotee's interest is when can I do absolute devotional service. So that's what devotees are looking for. Devotees are not looking for liberation. If that can happen in this material world, I'm happy to be here. Not me per se, I know. But to make a point, they just want to go so that they can engage in 100% devotional service to the Lord. Yeah, it's not liberation. Yes.
Recently lost my dad about a year back, and while coming across Bhagavad Gita for a few times that I've done, and probably the longest during that time, a lot of people said that just by merely remembering God, whoever you believe in, Krishna you believe in, leads to liberation. Was that the case with this particular story of yours? Because he could have
Yeah. Well, the spiritual question, he didn't come. That's the thing. That's another important point. He didn't come up with it. It's Narada Muni who planted that seed, even though he is the most unqualified person. And Narada Muni planted that seed, and because of that seed, he ended up in Vaikuntha. So yeah, it's. Oh, sorry. What's your question?
Yeah, so my question was, can this be interpreted as another way of, at least for once, doing the right thing in life, even when you are leaving, either remembering Lord, because it's very difficult, you could be remembering your family, you could be remembering the loss that you would have made recently, but you are remembering Lord, and trying to attain moksha. So he did a similar thing by asking a spiritual question. So that was just a thought that came across my mind while you were, sharing that.
Sure. Yeah.
That I had got.
Thank you. Yeah. It's nice. Yeah. Yes.
In today's verse, we hear about the pure devotee. This is kind of equivocal vision. But it sounds like, how do we understand it then in contrast to the pure devotee? On the other hand, his humility, he does feel, like he says, he doesn't feel, he feels himself to be uncontaminated by matter, equal to the Lord and the kind of that.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the pure devotee feels himself most contaminated, completely inferior.
Yeah, that's more on a rasa platform. There is all this going back and forth in the mind of a devotee. And sometimes he is considering himself very fallen, and sometimes he considers himself to be in a position that he has to become the spiritual master. So then you have to understand the Madhyamadhikari, the Uttamadhikaris, and how they have their consciousness. Generally, people who are Uttamadhikaris, they sometimes, because of the request of the Lord, they take up the position of a Madhyamadhikari, they come down to the position of Madhyamadhikari, and then they act in a way which helps liberate devotees. But people who don't, they have that mentality. They don't. They consider themselves to be completely fallen. And Uttamadhikaris on that level, they also don't interfere. Similar to the Lord, they also don't interfere if a person is engaged in whatever frivolous activities. Like Rama Maharaj said in class last week, he thinks he's also performing devotional service in his own way. So he doesn't interfere. But Uttamadhikari who descends to a Madhyama level, he makes the discrimination out of his compassion. Only few people do that. And like Gaurkishore Babaji, he could be bothered. Wow. He considered himself to be very fallen. But Bhaktisiddhanta didn't take that route. He could have very well said, yeah, I'll just follow my guru. And imagine what could have happened to us. So, say they descend, the Uttamadhikaris sometimes descend to Madhyama level, and then in the compassion, through the compassion, they do that. That's usually because the desire of the Lord, that they do that. The desire of the Lord, they do that position. So it's everybody it's a commonly quoted example in Prabhupada's life. Why would Prabhupada bother going to West? He could have just lived in Vrindavan. All his cohorts did that. They all did that. Just one man jumped on the boat. Now, it doesn't mean others are not pure devotees. It's not like they are, other Vaishnavas are not. But here is one man who became the embodiment of Krishna's mercy. And because of that, Krishna's mercy, he could liberate the whole world. And we see this example not just in Prabhupada. We see this not common, but there are instances. There are instances. One of the examples, other examples I can think of is Ramanujacharya's grand guru's grandfather. His name is Nadamuni, and usually we say Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, they just worship, Paramatmavadis, they only worship the Vishnu forms. But that's very immature talk. So Ramanujacharya's grand guru, that is Yamunacharya, his grandfather was a great devotee, and he was instrumental in rediscovering the Tamil Bhagavatam, which is the Divya Prabandha, which is considered in Tamil Bhagavatam, Tamil Vedas. He was instrumental in getting that. And rediscovering, because it got lost. So when he finished with his family life, he and his son, or son-in-law, I can't remember, they decided to go to Govardhan. And this is few hundred years back. They decided to go to Govardhan because, Krishna's. And they were just happily situated, performing their sadhana in Govardhan. And Krishna came in his dream and he said, "What are you doing here? Who asked you to return here? Go back, start preaching." And if he hasn't done that, Krishna pushes some devotees, not everyone. He invests their mercy, some devotees he pushes. And because of, Nadamuni came the whole Shiva Vaishnava Sampradaya. Same thing with Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. They could all be in easily Bhajananandis. But sometimes the Lord makes His pure devotees embodiment of His mercy, and through them, through their praise, through their humble praise, we all get an opportunity. We all get an opportunity. Do that make sense? Alright, I've gone way out of time, so I'll stop here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande, Ego. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sarvapatra Vishwa Kripa Sindhubhyo Japatidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ananta Gauri Vaishnavanda ki jai.